Don't look now, but the Reds and the Pirates, they're a proper rivalry again.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special crossover edition of Locked On Pirates and Locked On Reds. I'm Gary Morgan. Today, we're shrinking this down and sharpening the focus because when these two teams play, the history kind of fills the room, whether you want it to or not. This episode is about two things. First, how the Pirates and Reds rivalry feels alive again, not just because of geography, but because both teams are finally moving with intent at the same time. And I got Jeff, the host of Locked On Reds, with me to do it. We talked about this, Jeff. We were just chatting, and we were like, we got to do this. But before we do, I got to tell you, FanDuel brought you this episode of this crossover. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. During the tournament, FanDuel is offering $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. Head to FanDuel.com and get started. Jeff, rivalry, it's back.
It's back, and it's real. Like, I was thinking about the rivalry from, whatever it was, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And that was all just fighting. It was just guys being mad at each other. It was Amir Garrett charging dugouts, and it was Yasiel Puig and all of that crap. And this is real baseball. This is real going at it, good pitching, good hitting baseball. And it's going to be like this for the rest of the year. Like, I firmly believe whoever wins this season series, they're winning it 7-6. I don't think it's going to be a big blowout because these teams are just so evenly matched. But you're right. I mean, this is old against older when it comes to National League ball clubs, and they've seen each other quite a lot over their old lives. And so that's why this feels so much different than when the Reds play the Red Sox or when the Reds play the Rangers as they're going to head to Texas this weekend to face them. That's why these games feel so more frustrating to lose, and why there's some Reds fans out there that are just like, see, look at this. We're so bad. We're horrible at baseball. It's because the Pirates are good too, man.
I think that's the thing. These games could have gone either way because these games could have gone either way. I mean, that's the way it was. That's why they felt so pins and needles. Even when you had a couple runs up, in that ballpark especially, you are never more than a swing or two away from being back in a game. And I thought both teams showed the kind of urgency that it takes to win in that ballpark. Kept trying to add on. In the times that they won, they both added on. And that's super important to do, I think, especially with the way these teams can pitch.
And it felt like it was a mix of old hats getting it done as well as new faces making their mark, because sure, you had Oneill, Cruz just going crazy for 2 games, and you had Brian Reynolds doing what Brian Reynolds does at Great American Ballpark, but also Brandon Lau, that diving catch that he made on Nathaniel Lowe, everyone's favorite English language crossover, I thought was a key moment because Dane Myers was breaking for second on the pitch. Had that fallen, he would have at least made it to third, and had that kicked in any sort of way in the outfield, he might have scored from first, and then the run would have definitely scored from third as well. Like, that would have changed Tuesday night's ball game. And then
I thought he
Wednesday,
saved it earlier, actually. He dove and stopped Elly. Yeah, I mean, that's not an easy guy to get out when you have to dive.
And that's not a guy that's known for his glove either. And he did a really nice job with it there on a couple of plays. And then on Wednesday, the key moment for me was Connor Phillips walking in that 4th run. Because at that point, it felt like the Reds still had a chance to get in. And, of course, Suarez hits the home run to bring it within 1. Had Phillips not walked in that run, then it would have been a tie ball game, brand new ball game. Kind of would have felt like the energy would have been a lot different for the later innings. But because of that, the Pirates still had breathing.
Super fun series, though. I mean, I know we came out on top. I'm not going to sit here and not brag about it, but I just think there's so many tie-ins between these two teams that makes the rivalry even better. I think they might be 1 and 2 for pitching staffs in this division, if not the game. I think they're really, really good. I think both bullpens are pretty solid. I think we both have depth in both the rotation and the bullpen. I think our offense is better. I'm not going to lie. I think it's more proven out. Their additions made a big difference, I think. Ours is based more on tangible data from just last season, and you're still kind of on hope a bit.
Yes.
So I'm kind of wondering how that pans out. But aside from that, man, I do. If it is as dead even as it has ever been, they might be fighting for the exact same spot, whether you're talking about the division or that last wild card.
100%. And I think that the key with these two ball clubs is just going to be who's pitching lasts longer. And that's what happened in this series. The Pirates pitching outlasted the Reds pitching. And that's what it's going to be whenever they meet in Pittsburgh. And that's what it's going to be whenever they're back in Great American. Like, just who can outlast the other on the pitching staff, because we saw that the Reds finally broke that scoreless streak against Paul Skeens. Finally. Wasn't sure it was going to happen, but it was nice to see.
Wasn't it, 18 innings, I think it was?
31.
Was it 31?
31 straight innings. They scored.
Oh, it was 18 in your ballpark.
Yeah, in Great American, because they scored the very first time Paul Skeens ever faced the Reds. The first inning he faced the Reds scored a run on him. And then they didn't do it again until Wednesday afternoon in whatever that was, like the fourth inning, wasn't it? So it's like such a long period of time went in there. And so it almost kind of felt like, oh, hey, we've got a shot. But with the way that the first inning went and Oneill Cruz's 3-run bomb, and then you had the weirdness of Phillips walking in that one run, it just kind of still felt like as close as they got, they still had another step to go, and they just didn't take that step in time before the ninth inning happened. Which, by the way, I also heard this stat too. Like, the Pirates going crazy on Emilio Pagan, they were kind of due, because like he had 10 career appearances against the Pirates before that, and he had never allowed a run.
They were 2 for 32 against them.
Yeah, it's like
2 for 32, man. Like, yeah.
At some point, baseballs in that.
That and early season weirdness. You know, I really do believe in early season weirdness. You know, especially when expected performers don't in a freakishly bad way. You know, and Pagan's a pretty consistent performer, so I don't expect to be able to increase the lead very much against him usually. Also, a weird situation. Closers hate that. Closers hate coming in when it's not a close.
Yeah, the adrenaline's off, right? Because especially down one, and it's like you've just got to keep us within one so that the bottom half of the inning we have a shot. And he even has said before, I like to come in high leverage situations. I don't just view myself as somebody who's coming out here to get saves. But even still, like, the leverage would have to feel weird. And you're right. These early season games, it's so tough because you want to get mad and you want to make a judgment call about your team. But then you realize April just started. We got like 6 months of this.
Right.
This is going to take a while.
I mean, even if you look at our division right now, we're 3-3, both of us, and we're in the basement of this division, and it does not feel like we're basement dwellers, right? And there's the hated Brewers, 5-1 at the top, of course, and the Cardinals, like everyone expected, 3-2. You know,
I didn't see. Did they like win 17 different challenges against CB Buckner today? I saw that he was behind the plate.
Dude, somebody is making a big scene about CB Buckner. He's gonna have a hard time keeping his job if stuff like that keeps up for real, and rightfully so. And the Cubs are 3-3 too. The division is still there. The Pirates are the only team that hasn't played at home yet. So I'm interested to see if that changes things. Pirates had a good record at home last year, but the division's still there. Nobody's done anything crazy yet. The Brewers have been at home in their little bandbox the whole time. Let's see what happens when they get out. Let's talk about individuals that we recognize and just things we observed about the teams.
And while we're talking about these early season performances for the Reds and hoping that their additions to the roster make the team better, you can know that additions made to your team will make your team better with Indeed sponsored jobs, because anytime you're looking to fill a job, you've got to check out Indeed sponsored jobs because they help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with the skills, the experience, and the location, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your job post. You spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. It equals less stress, less time, and more results for you. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of today's show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day. Look, you always make us part of your day. Now take it up a notch and go ad-free. Join the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club by going to lockedonreds.supercast.com. You can join for $5 a month or $50 for a whole year, or for right now, just for a few more days. Put in the promo code FINALLY and get a free month of the Everydayer Club. You get an ad-free feed, you get a group chat, and so much more. That's lockedonreds.supercast.com. Also a link in the description of today's episode to learn more.
Jeff, we've had a good time talking about the rivalry, but why do you fear the Pirates now when you haven't in the past?
Oneill Cruz. Because I feel like
for you.
Yeah, I think he's figuring it out. And that's the one thing that you worried about as a Reds fan for the last couple of years, is that at the very least, if he does figure it out, maybe it's just against other teams. But certainly the way that he hit and the way that he played overall against the Redlegs looked really good in those 3 games, and especially, 3 homers in 2 games. He had, because I texted you about it, the thing that really got to me when I was just like, all right, things are going his way, is when he had the little excuse me swing, like I'm just going to foul this off and move on to the next pitch. And it goes down the line for a single. And it's like, oh my gosh, because Ke'Bryan Hayes was not in position to get that ball because of
right.
He's going to pull. He's off the line, so he's not going to go for it. And then there it is. Boom, easy single. And he's on first base. He's even kind of smiling and laughing a little bit like, yeah, I didn't think I was going to hit that ball. All right, here we go. But no, it's Oneill Cruz is kind of the linchpin with all of this, because I know, like, the new additions, Lau and O'Hearn and Ozuna, those guys are going to make their difference. But if the Pirates are going to go, it's going to be on the back of Oneill Cruz. If
they're going to do anything special, Oneill Cruz probably has to be special. And I think the same can be said for Elly. And when I'm watching Elly, and just right now when I'm watching the Reds lineup, Sal Stewart's very impressive. I can't say that I felt that way about him last year, so maybe something really has clicked for him, because he just looks really locked in, and it doesn't look fluky. Like, he's getting to everything too. High fastballs, low stuff. He's on it. So, I mean, he looks real. Elly, still questionable to me from the right side, but dynamic player. If you shut down Elly, you shut down the Reds. That's the way I feel about your lineup right now. And it's based on one series. But I expected more from, like, McLain. And he just looked awful, especially in today's game. Struck out, 3 times against
something
Paul Skeens,
happened.
I think.
Yeah, something happened against Bubba Chandler, I feel like, on Tuesday. And something snapped in him, and he's got to get it back, whatever it was. And Barry Larkin was talking about the fact that his last at-bat, I think it was against Lawrence. Yeah, he didn't hit against Soto. But against Lawrence, he hit a ground ball to the other side of the field. It was picked up by Lau and easily thrown out for an out. But the way that he did it, stayed back in the zone, was able to drive the ball the other way. It was a decent exit velocity ground ball, but obviously still an out. But he's like, the way that he was able to do that, he wasn't doing that against Skeens. He was overswinging. He was quick through the zone. He wasn't laying back on the breaking balls or the off-speed pitches that were coming in on him, where he could kind of push it the other way like he was in spring training. And this was kind of the dip that we all saw coming. It was so hot in Cactus League play that it was like, all right, eventually this is going to calm down, and what happens with that and how quickly can he get it back. So we're hoping that we see that as we get on the road in Texas, but I'm a little bit worried that this is the adjustment period where things were going good early, and now he's kind of got to figure out what it was that he lost. Can he get that back quick enough? I think he will, but you're right. He did not look great in this series.
Pretty important player for you guys. I think he's one of
Huge.
those guys that has to click if it's going to work, right? Even if Sal Stewart is a bonus.
The number 2 position in the Reds order last year was the second worst in all of baseball. Like, I think it was just the Rockies were the only other team whose number 2 hitter was worse collectively. And the biggest reason why was because Matt McLain just did not work out last year. And so if he does not work out again this year, I don't know what the answer is. Maybe you move Sal Stewart into that spot, but I certainly think he's going to get a little bit more of a runway to prove it, but definitely dropping down to below 200 and the way that he's looked these last 2 games, you can't ignore it.
I'll let you go. It's your turn to start a topic. You got to pick a Pirates question, I guess.
Yeah, so that's the thing for me is the Pirates bullpen. It feels like the bullpen these last couple of years, at least until they traded him away, was David Bednar, and then you just kind of hope that everybody else does their thing. Now it kind of feels like there are multiple guys you can call on. I know that the Reds got up on Mason Montgomery in this one, but at least in New York, he looked pretty good. And overall, I feel like they've got the kind of guys that they can pull in at any certain time and that, you know, they can kind of manage the later innings with a lot more urgency. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, we've unfortunately gotten to see a whole heck of a lot of the bullpen so far. I mean, they have really, really ridden them hard, and probably planned on it to a degree, you know. It feels like Don Kelly's got an aversion to using Jose Urquidy at all. I think he's had 1 inning and it was in the 10th, like where he was like the last dude. Like, you're just going to have the rest of this, however long it goes. I just don't get the impression he wants him on the club. So, I mean, get rid of him. Hunter Barco is a starter prospect they have in the bullpen. They seem to not be able to get him to give you more than 1 inning clean. Maybe he's not ready, and you have a few guys who are in the minors. I'd like to see them flip-flop those. Jose Ramirez, most pleasant surprise in the game. I mean, this guy's been DFA'd, I think, 2 or 3 times by the Pirates. I mean, I think he's been on 6 or 7 different teams, maybe more. You know, when you find guys like that, and Isaac Matson, who was playing independent ball down in Washington County, you know, I mean, like, you pick those guys up off the street. That's what bullpens are all about. Those kind of stories. You guys, I think you guys can throw more lefties at anybody.
We'll dive into that Reds bullpen, including an injury update on Caleb Ferguson, coming up next. We're coming down to the wire on the NCAA tournament, which means there's less time for you to take advantage of the great opportunity over at FanDuel as you go through all of the brackets, buzzer beaters, and upsets, and everything that the tournament has to offer. FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's the best part. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entirety of the tournament. You can mix it up however you want, game picks, futures, or even same-game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the rest of the tournament and beyond because, well, every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. Visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. Plus, you can check out all of the Reds lines out there as the Reds head to Texas and face the Rangers this weekend, and so much more. That's FanDuel.com to get in on all of the action. And the Reds got one coming back. Caleb Ferguson's got that oblique injury. Last report that I heard was he's doing long toss from 90 feet, and so they're thinking that he's going to get on a mound to a bullpen session here soon. I'd say it sounds like, based on what they're reporting, he's still at least 2 weeks away. But when he comes back, Sam Moll has done well enough, I think, to keep his spot in the bullpen. And obviously, same for Brock Burke. He pitched 2 1/3 of just really efficient innings when Brandon Williamson left that game on Tuesday. So I feel like we're going to have a spot here where the Reds have 3 lefties, and then you have the weirdness that is the lefty specialist of the right-hander Graham Ashcraft. because of how he's able to throw that cutter up and into left-handed hitters. They just can't get to it. So there's going to be 4 different guys that you can throw at opposing lefties. That's going to be interesting to see. Like, if they can all keep it up throughout the year, the Reds are going to have so many different options they can pull out of that bullpen, on top of what we all hope is going to be a starting rotation that holds its own. Because it looks like it can. It's just, there's been a couple of weird starts here early on.
Chase Burns. I wanted to make sure I talked about Chase Burns. Boy, Chase Burns blew me away. I mean, there's some guys that come in and they throw fast and yeah, you take notice and everything, right? But that kid does it with movement. I mean, and he really seems to have exquisite command for his age. Like you don't see that combination very often. I'm higher on him than Hunter Green. Really?
There's some folks that say, like, in a year or two, is he going to be pushing for opening day starting appointment, and legitimately not because Hunter Green has some other injury that he's dealing with. And I have a hard time arguing with him, because when you watch him do what he did, he worked all spring training on that changeup. He only threw the changeup 6 times against the Pirates on Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night. Monday night, sorry.
Didn't need it. Yeah.
Didn't need it, because that fastball and that slider just work, man. And I love the fact that he pitched that way, because there were some of us that were wondering if they'd get more than 4 innings out of him because of the reports out of spring training. They were using words like range of motion and deload, and I don't know. They came up with words to try to just talk, I think, for a few minutes, and we found out none of it mattered, and he was still fine, because that was a fantastic performance, and I expect him to continue that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Williamson, welcome back to the league. I mean, like, geez, what, 2014 or 2024 was the last time he pitched, right?
Yeah,
in
2024,
September?
and it was only a couple of innings in September as well. So
what do you think of him? Like, I'm assuming if Hunter Green was healthy, he wouldn't have made the rotation. But
no, he's a number 6 guy. He's in Louisville. He's going to be a key member for the rest of the season, where when you need somebody, you call him up. But I think that he's going to be better than what he showed in that first start, because he's got good stuff. But yeah, I think if you were to lay out 5 starting pitchers there, he's not in that top 5. And I thought he drew a bad matchup too, because, man, Bubba Chandler stuff. Like, I get it. He did lose the strike zone a little bit there later on in that start, and he threw a lot of pitches, but you saw the top end of what he can be. And if he can kind of cut out the way that the 4th and the 5th inning went, that dude's going to be every bit as good as anybody else in that Pirates rotation.
all right, we got some top prospects we should probably talk about too, right?
That's true.
We got Connor Griffin on the cusp, and I just reported on my show. Well, people will hear it tomorrow. I'm going to report on my show that Connor Griffin is in deep contract talks, and it's been now reported by Sports Illustrated as well. So exciting, and we think that's really happened. It's great because, Jeff, the one thing I think that the Pirates need to truly compete with the Reds and all those lefties in your rotation and bullpen that we just talked about is another thumper righty. And that's exactly what Connor Griffin could be.
That contract is probably going to twist the knife a little bit in some Reds fans' side, because they see these contracts, and it goes back a couple of years, like Jackson Churio, what he signed with the Brewers, and you see the Cooper Pratt contract, different C word, that was signed here recently, and then you see all the different things. And the A's locking up all of their young guys, and the Reds are sitting here and they got Hunter Green locked up, and that's it. So there's a lot of questions that are going around, and reports where they approached Elly de la Cruz and they got shut down almost immediately. His agent is never going to do it. I understand that. So then go to other people. Go talk to Sal Stewart. Go talk to Nick Lodolo, who I still think is going to be fine. I know he's dealing with blister things. I think he's going to be okay. Talk to some other guys on the team that you can lock down for a long period of time, because the core of this ball club is going to be here for a couple of more years, and then they're all going to be gone at this rate, because they've done this thing where they wait too long.
You did what the Atlanta Braves did except the Atlanta Braves started locking it up. That's what you're saying. Like, why aren't you locking any of it in? Can I ask you a real question? Who would you want locked in most? Because from afar, I don't see an awful lot of obvious candidates that have 100% proven themselves. I think Sal Stewart looks great right now. I would do that if you're talking about young guy that you expect.
I think you have to gamble, right? Because if it's obvious that they're somebody you should lock down immediately, they're probably too expensive.
Oh, Burns. I would do Burns.
Burns and Sal are the two that I kind of have circled for this. And I think that if you start to see McLain figure it out in games that matter,
right?
I know people are saying, well, he looked good in spring training. That doesn't mean anything. In games that matter, if he starts to figure it out, then you should really open up negotiations with him. But you're right, because I just feel like teams in our persuasion that just refuse to compete with the large contracts of the large clubs, you got to gamble a little bit on guys before they prove it. Otherwise, you're not going to sign them long term.
Right. I mean, we're in the same situation with Skeens. So it's not as though I don't feel your pain or haven't felt your pain for decades now. Which prospects are you looking forward to, though, Jeff? Like, from your system, like, who do you expect to debut and contribute this year?
It's tough because there's not a ton of guys that I think are that close. Like Hector Rodriguez and Edwin Arroyo are the closest, but Hector Rodriguez is not a true outfielder. He's still learning the outfield defensively. And we've already got plenty of that problem. And then Edwin Arroyo is kind of a soft hitter, which he has, and I've gotten yelled at this before. He has started to show some power over the last year and a half or so, but like I need to keep seeing that to really buy into that. Otherwise, I think he comes up and he's a singles hitting glove first shortstop, and that just doesn't play in this day and age. So I don't necessarily know that there's anybody that I'm super stoked for right now. I definitely think in a couple of years, Alfredo Duno is going to be awesome. But we're talking about a dude that just now made it to high A, and he's a catcher. So it's going to be a few years before he's here.
I mean, maybe the way some teams are starting to flag guys. I mean, I'm half expecting Seth Hernandez to be in Double-A by the end of this season, the way I expect him to dominate Bradenton. But yeah, Jeff, I think it's fun. We're going to have a great time going back and forth all season long doing this, and I'm glad we did this, man. We just text message chain turns into a fun episode.
I was going to say earmark either pre-series or post-series for every time the Pirates and Reds get together, because there ain't going to be no way we can't talk about it.
Yeah, I love it, man. And as much as I hate saying it, good luck, because, you know, you are my small market brethren. So
I agree with that. I know that our postcast host is not, he really despises the Pirates, but I don't. Like, looking at it, I definitely want the Pirates to be beating up on the Cardinals and beating up on the Brewers and beating up on the Cubs. So definitely
let's go for 1 and 2 in the division, man. 1 and 2 in the division.
Let's do it.
Let's push Sam and Chuck out of the way, down to the bottom with JD where they belong. And
shock them to no end for sure. Thanks for joining us this week on Locked On Reds. Coming up tomorrow, Steve's got you covered, and looking forward to the Texas Rangers series. So much coming for you every single day here on Locked On Reds. Make sure that you're subscribed. Don't miss anything that we've got coming for you, because we are Locked On Reds every single day.